You're listening to the Radcast, a top 25 worldwide business podcast. If it's radical, we cover it. Here's your host, Ryan Alford.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to episode 400 of the Radcast. I'm Ryan Alford, your host. We want to thank you for the opportunity to bring you episode 400 wherever, whenever, however you are. We are your number one business and marketing show on Apple Podcasts. And hey, I always say good things come over time. It only took 6 years, 400 episodes, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And yes, there was blood shed in this room at some time. I'm sure I picked my finger on something. But I appreciate everyone. Sawyer, our producer. I got Cameron here, producer, assistant extraordinaire, and all of you at home or wherever you are listening to the show. It's been an honor to bring 400 episodes. I was reflecting on what to talk about. And, you know, you start to do these sorts of things and you start to think about the outline, and I'm like, you know, it all felt self-serving. Like, oh, yeah, 400 episodes. Like, what is all that? How long? And it's been thousands of hours. It's been dedication. It's been 2 episodes a week, rain or shine, holidays, all that stuff. And, you know, it brings a lot of reflection, but I want it to be through the lens of value and the lessons that are learned that I think transcend not only podcasting and branding and marketing, but really life in general. And I really wanted to share not only some of my favorite clips. We've done some best of episodes. You can check those out in previous episodes where you hear some of those things. And we are going to sort of share some of the clips from some of my favorite guests. I think bringing that to the front of the timeline and episode list for new listeners is important. So we will have some of that here towards the back half of this episode. But I wanted to reflect on 4 things. I guess accidentally lining up with 400. But 4 things, the biggest things I've learned, the biggest ahas, if you call them, and I think the biggest value elements that can bring something to you listening, whether it be in your business, in your life, in your marketing. I think it transcends all of those. The first thing that I want to touch on is the power of conversations and the power of relationships. This show is built on 2 episodes a week. One of those being an interview where I bring forward some of the best in the industry for any particular field. Some people that I just really think are smart, or just well-known names that I think have a great business and marketing story underneath or behind the curtain of their success in entertainment or sports or otherwise. And I think what I've come to realize is how much, you know, just in 30, 45, 1 hour, how the power of that conversation can lead to so many things. So one, conversation brings understanding. There's 2 things that happen in a conversation. One, and everyone thinks it's about, when you think about talking and conversation, you think about what you're saying. But what it is and what it is for me, and what I think I've ultimately gotten good at on this show, is the power of listening. Because when I'm on this show, I am hyper-focused on nothing but the guest, nothing but the conversation, and listening to what someone else has to say, understanding how they feel and knowing their perspective. And I think the power of conversations gets lost in today's world of social media and video and so many things thrown in our face. We just rarely sit down and have an uninterrupted discussion anymore. And I have just taken so much out of these 400 episodes. Every one of them is a dialogue of understanding, a dialogue of learning, a dialogue of really coming to terms with different perspectives. And the power of what comes from that has been really enlightening and refreshing for me. And what that ultimately has done is build relationships. The power of relationships has never been more apparent to me. Those come in the form of idea sharing, learning from others, getting a new perspective. They come in the form of business opportunities with not what you know, who you know, creating connection, creating leverage, and then ultimately just the power of camaraderie. I naturally strike up these conversations with my guests, and I would say more times than not, I keep up with a lot of these same people, whether they're well-known famous artists or just a general business person. We're texting, DMing different things, and it really brings to life more. We live in such a kind of a faux digital world where things don't seem real. And the power of that conversation and those relationships becomes extremely tangible from having this show and building those relationships at a level that bring value, hopefully to the guests, but 100% for myself and making me a better person and having a bigger perspective and learning things. And so the first one, the power of a conversation, the power of relationships. Number two, we think there's this success formula. We all think, they're smarter than me. They've got something over me. They're smarter than me. They know more than me. They're luckier than me. They just knew the right person. They got the secret inside trick. That's why they're so successful. Oh, they're good looking. Oh, they're in shape. We all think there's these things, these tangible things, but here's what I've found to be the number one determination of success, whether that's Mark Randolph, the founder of Netflix, Grant Cardone, one of the most well-known real estate influencers in the country, Brad Lee. The names go on and on. These are multimillionaires, sometimes billionaires. Howard Panis, billionaire. This is the key. This is the trait of the most successful people in the world. It's not smarts. It's not looks. It's not what you think. It's grit. Grit, baby. It's grit. They don't take no for an answer. They don't stop when things get hard. They live in discomfort. It wasn't all gravy. They have grit. They love the grind. They don't mind the setbacks. And they get after it and they push through. First idea didn't work, no big deal. Second idea didn't work, no big deal. They push through. No, it's not easy. No, it's not all rainbow and sunshine, but grit is what makes people successful. It's the power and the willingness to do things when you don't want to do them. And it's rare. Grit is rare these days. So if you want to learn how to be successful, learn how to get grit. Learn how to be tough. And this isn't like some faux tough. It isn't going to the gym and working out, though a lot of successful people are in good shape because there's a correlation, right? You go to the gym, you do push-ups, you don't want to be there. That shit sucks. But it has impact. You see what happens when you go. You lose weight, you put on muscle, you have all these other benefits. Your health is good. You feel good. But it's hard and it hurts. But grit is what makes people successful. After talking with over 200 people from all walks of life, successful, stars, billionaires, millionaires, grit is what will make you successful. Number 3, social media is underrated, not overrated. You heard that right. I don't love Facebook. Let's be honest. Facebook kind of sucks. But you know what? It's fucking powerful. And so is Instagram. And so is TikTok. And so is YouTube. All these channels are uber powerful. They broke down the barriers and made and democratized media. Let me explain. 15 years ago, the only way to be known, the only way to grow awareness was through mass media. TV, radio, outdoor, print, newspapers. All the brands that could afford it, the movie stars and other people that had careers that pushed them into media, that was the only way. social media has broken down all those barriers. You can get reach and frequency organically. Anyone can become a star. It's not limited to being on television. Hell, no one even watches television anymore, really. Let's be honest. It's streaming. They don't watch the commercials 90% of the time. But social media is underrated in its power. And it's an ability to build personal branding. You notice I didn't start this by saying, well, personal branding is underrated. But you know how I feel about that. But the reality is social media is underrated because of the power and the leverage that you can create with it with really no cost other than your time at first. And the number of people that are leveraging it, you would think is oversaturated, but I would say it's actually undersaturated. It's oversaturated with opinion and waste of energy on shit that you can't control. But it's way underutilized for leverage, sharing knowledge, gaining knowledge, and turning that platform into a real business, career, or amplifying what you're already doing. The opportunity is huge, and social media is underrated. This show was built on the power of using social media to make contacts, DMing guests, creating leverage with our own popularity. That's number 3. Number 4, final, the biggest learning. One that, everybody says, what would you do different? What would you go back and change? Go big. B-I-G, baby. Look, I started this show as someone that had done a lot in marketing. Some of the best known campaigns in the world, working with some of the largest brands in the world, but no one knew who I was. And so I, called friends and family, invited, people that were great. But I kind of put myself in my own box with, well, I need to start small. And, I can't have, oh my God, I couldn't DM Mark Randolph, and look, I'd accomplished a lot, but because I thought my show's new, who am I? We have such limiting beliefs as humans. And though I consider myself a pretty confident person, starting something new that I'd never done, I realized even more, and it's transcended and brought to life in so many other ways in things that we do. But you've got to go big. And this isn't just if you want to start a podcast. This is anything that you do. Every guest that I've had, every conversation that's been had, it's reinforced that you have one life to live. You got one opportunity to do these things. Why would you go small? And going big doesn't mean spending money, but go big with your idea. If you think you've got something, take it 10 steps further. I haven't read this book, but a lot of people talk about it all the time. There's tenets of it out there. And I've believed this now, having started some of my own companies and growing and scaling them. It's easier to 10X than it is to 2X. It's the strangest thing, but it's true. It is easier to go big than it is to play small. Because you put yourself in these boxes, you put up unnatural barriers, and you create unnatural tension when you try to play small. And that transcends podcasting all the way to business, to ideas. Obviously, you have to scale and be responsible. But you got one shot. Go big. Those are the 4 key takeaways from doing 400 episodes. A lot of those transcend marketing and business. But I think at this stage, we've earned the right to kind of tell you a lot of things across the gamut. And I think, but all of those play to business. They all play to marketing. The power of conversation relationships with your customers, with your people, internal, external, the grit of successful people, how you hire, how you train, how you mentor. Social media being underrated. It's not just a box you check. It's a box that you check over and over and over again because there's so much opportunity. And finally, going big. If you're starting a show, you listen to this, you're looking for insights, become the best in your industry. Start and assume and act and play like the biggest dog in town. It's not arrogance, but if you aren't confident, no one else will be. And that can be said in everything in life. I have 4 sons, teach them all the time. And look, I want it for them bad. I'm like, son, if you're going to shoot 10 free throws, shoot 100. If you're going to, if you're going to do it, let's do it. It doesn't mean you have to win every contest, but go big. Finally, I'll say this. The last one plays into the future of this show. In the essence of going big, we're now going to be expanding the Radcast into a media network. You're going to see news of that. We're going to have multiple shows. We actually already have a few shows underneath the umbrella, but it's going to be more officially branded, announced. You'll start to see that branding on other shows. Definitely encourage you. We'll be giving links and doing what we do best as a marketing show. We're going to market our own products and different services and other shows. And then this show will ultimately become the Ryan Alford Show. And you'll see that branding. It's a natural evolution with having multiple shows underneath the Radcast Media Network, with Ryan Alford Show being a part of that, with a lot of the content staying the same. But I didn't want to do that for vanity purposes. I mean, I thought about calling the show that to begin with, but quite frankly, I just thought the Radcast was cooler. Our agency's radical. I believe in radical thinking, and I didn't want it to be about me. But at this stage, with the Radcast Media Network getting bigger and this show becoming more and more about my perspective, along with guest perspectives that are tailored from my personal choices of who comes on, I think it does start to make sense. So you'll see notice of that in the coming weeks. That won't immediately, the next time you come in, you probably won't see that on our logos or anything, but it will be coming, and you will start to see broader shows underneath the Radcast Network. So if you're listening, now's a good time to get on. We have packaged all of the learnings. What's taken us 6 years will take you less than 1, because we know how to do this shit now. Process, procedure, everything streamlined, systemized for how to take a show from nothing to something. And if the Radcast is any demonstration, now the #1 marketing and business show on Apple with over 1.5 million downloads a month. So again, a good time to get in touch. If you're hearing this and want to shoot me a DM on Instagram or get in touch on my website at ryanalford.com. Lots of ways to get in touch with me. Then Cameron or someone from our team will get in touch. If you're looking to grow your show, if you're starting at nothing, or if you are starting from ground zero, we'd love to help you, and it's a great opportunity. To that end, I wanted to bring, it's episode 400. You can check the best of episodes, but I did want to just call out a few of our favorite clips and my favorite interviews. I mean, look, they're all my babies. Look, if you're watching the video, look behind me. We've got them on the wall. That's another reflection as I look around this room and how it's grown. This wall's grown with all the guests and some of our Hall of Fame of favorite guests and people we've been blessed to have on. The artwork badass artwork that I have from Matt Caesar, 2016 World Series champion Matt Caesar, who's a hell of an artist. The Michael Jordan framed painting that he did, hand by hand, unbelievable. We're going to be working more with Matt, more news with him. He's so fucking talented. But I do want to call out a few of my favorite people and favorite clips from the show and a few nuggets as you kind of embrace this 400th episode of the Radcast. And first, my main man, Grant Cardone. I loved having Grant on the show. It was a quick 20 to 30 remote episode, but a relationship that's been built. I touch base with Grant from time to time. He's uber successful in real estate, undercover billionaire, needs no introduction, but he really taught, this is so funny. You have these multimillionaires, billionaires on the show, and the simplicity but directness of their advice is what's so both enlightening but also endearing. Grant taught us the importance of showing up and doing something, even if you don't want to do it. Starting to think big and how to give back to someone. See, it's practical. Just listen to this clip from Grant.
I know you have the 10X platform. I know you got 7 of these and 5 of these and 4 of those. But like, have you boiled it down like for both yourself and maybe others, like what that success formula truly is?
Yeah, well, I did some of that on Undercover Billionaire, right? Well,
Yeah.
One is show up, say yes to it. You got to show up. Like if you don't show up, you can't get lucky. You can't get lucky. Nothing good happens. Nobody's going to come to your home, your sofa, your bedroom and give you anything. It's just not going to happen. Like you have to show up. And then once you show up, you got to show up, right? Like you got to be available for whatever you're doing, even if you don't want to do it. So I do stuff every day. I show up for stuff every day. I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do this. But I show up and then I act like I want to do it, right? So you got to show up and then you got to be willing to change your mind about it because something super cool might come out of the deal. So number one, you got to show up. Number two, and while you're showing up, you got to drop your bad attitude. Like if you're negative, bad attitude, stuff's going wrong, you lost your mom, you got COVID, whatever the hell happened. Bro, nobody needs to know about that. You got to show up and be 100%. Number two, I would tell everybody, like, I'm always looking for a 10X target. Always. I wake up every day, never satisfied where I'm at because I'm always looking for the 10X. I'm looking for, I got 4,000 or 12,000 units. I'm going to get 120,000. 120,000 units, bro. I'll be like, I could run for president of the United States. Like I'd be a major player on planet Earth if I could get there. I don't know if I can get there. Today, I probably doubt that I can get there. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think I can do it. I don't know that I have enough time. I don't have enough money. But it's cool to think about it. And that's what I did on Undercover Billionaire. They said, could you build $1 million business in 90 days? I said, no, but I could build a $10 million business in 90 days. She's like, what? Are you fucking with me? I'm like, kind of, a little bit. But look, I want to go for 10 million, not 1 million. And I ended up coming up short. I did 5.5 million plus $1.7 million worth of real estate. We hit $7 million in 88 days. And I could have probably left at 70. So number two is you got to think big every day. I got to be thinking about not how to get one deal. How do I get 10? Not how do I get 10 people? How do I get 100? Like whatever it is, just 10X to think. It's ridiculous anyway. And then the third thing is give back, man. Once you start hitting or not hitting, no matter what's going on, man, find somebody you can help today. Like that keeps fuel in my tank. And if I'm winning, I'm going to share it with somebody. Hey man, I tried this little trick, this little thing. I did this little thing and it worked. And if I'm failing that day and I'm down and out, I'm like, let me go see if I can help somebody get up. So those three things have always been there for me.
Next on my list is my man, the real Brad Lee. Had the pleasure of going to Las Vegas. I was on Brad's show. He did me the honor and the pleasure of having and coming on the Radcast. And he really, he brought it back down to earth. We have these big personas and these big things. And I think we always think that it's going to be something complicated, that success or growing your business or your brand is like super complicated. But Brad brought it right back down to earth. Just listen to this clip. He talks about the terms of the 4 keys to effective training and the importance of asking the right questions. Listen to this clip.
Is there like a number one skill set that maybe people overlook or is often, or 2 or 3, there's a specific number here, but like things that really make people great at sales?
Well, when it comes to just sales, there's quite a few. I think people overlook empathy. They overlook empathy being number one. I mean, a lot of times if you just put yourself in your customer's shoes, say to them what you would want to be told, treat them like you'd want to be treated, you're going to go a lot farther in sales. I think if you really want to learn to sell, learn to stop selling, right? And we're learned to sell incorrectly. We're being taught to close deals and sell people so we can get a commission or we can make a sale. When if you just stop doing that, man, instead of being a salesperson, try to be a help person. Stop selling and just start asking some questions and being interested in your customer. And then lo and behold, you'll find information that totally correlates with your product or service. And all of a sudden now that enthusiasm and that passion kind of gets transferred to the other person and they buy your product and service. So the way to sell is to not sell. Look to help people, man. These are the 4 things you need to train effectively. You need good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. When I worked at that organization, I was providing repetition because I worked there every day. We were, practice, drill, rehearse. Every day we were role playing. Every day we were repeating it over and over and over. Repetition is the mother of learning.
On this next clip, my man, one of my favorite sports, was always a combat sport guy. Boxing, my grandfather. I remember I was like 5 or 6 years old. Some of the few memories I have of my grandfather who passed away when I was 16. We watched boxing together. My dad, my grandfather, we'd sit around, we'd watch boxing. This was like the heyday of Tyson coming along. Even before that, like Sugar Ray Robinson, replays of him. But the UFC is now the king of martial artists and combat sports that you see on TV. And no one more popular than my man, Bruce Buffer, the voice of the Octagon. Look, we think we know how people might be, but let me just tell you, from a business and marketing perspective, Bruce is as sharp of a person as I've had in 400 episodes. He had no fewer than like 5 companies going on, energy drink, a liquor drink. The dude was everywhere. And he really gave us some really interesting perspective about business and life inside and outside of the Octagon in this clip here.
Where did It's Time come from? I want to know where that came from. Let's start there.
Well, when I started in the UFC announcing, and I've been managing my brother, Michael Buffer, the legendary greatest announcer of all time, Let's Get Ready to Rumble.
Yep.
We met late in life. And when we did, I owned 2 companies. I had my first company when I was 19. I've been an entrepreneur ever since. I've owned a variety of companies, a couple failures here and there, but most all successes, I'm proud to say. And when I met him, knowing that he was the announcer he was and everything else, I sold 2 companies and became his manager, managing his career and everything. I wanted to announce back then. We agreed I wouldn't do boxing, and I said something will come along, and boom, this is a very short version. And boom, the UFC came along, and I worked my way into the UFC, but I never wanted to be Frank Sinatra Jr. I never wanted to be, no respect to Frank Sinatra Jr., but I wanted to create my own style. I wanted to grow with the UFC to help market the brand, being the marketing and branding person that I am first and foremost before I do anything else. And I told him, I said, I need to grow with you as the announcer, but I didn't think I needed a catchphrase. I'm not catchphrase driven. I was more like, it's not what I say, it's how I say it. So it wasn't until about 7 years later that his time came about. Everybody always was going, let's get ready, let's do this. They all wanted to be Michael. I just didn't want to come across like that. I told myself if within 3 years I could build my own identity, my own style, I would continue. If not, I would quit because I just didn't want to be that way. So every day I wake up, and I was kidding before, but I'm serious, I look in the mirror and go, it's time. It's time to have the best day that I can possibly have. So I used to open the show saying, it's time to begin the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And then Dana White and the Fertittas bought the show. Dana and I met. He said, I don't want you doing that at the front anymore. Top of the show. And I said, fine. But then I got down to the main event, and I realized, hey, everybody's sitting here for 5 hours. They watching the show. The main event's about to start. The fighter's been training 6 to 8 weeks for its biggest moment in their lives. this is definitely, it's time. It's time. This is when it's going to happen. And I started incorporating it in, and gradually over time, it developed to the style that I do it now, whether I'm jumping or doing whatever. I never know physically what I'm going to do till I do it, because I never rehearse. Never. I feel the energy of the crowd, and I just let it fly. But when I was in Brazil and 20,000 Portuguese-speaking people said, it's time with me, I knew right then it hit. And that's when I started building it up. And then eventually, over the last 15 plus years since then, I've developed into products, and many things happening worldwide. And now time has taken on a very individual branding of itself. And I plan on reaching $1 billion in sales with its time, whether it's sales of other, not in my pocket, sales of other companies, everything, as I achieved over $500 million in sales with Let's Get Ready to Rumble. But I love my brother, but I'm a competitor, and I'm going to come in first.
I love it. I love it. Did you see, the UFC has had this meteoric rise in the last 10 plus years, but did you see that coming?
I knew from the very first day I got involved, it was going to be the biggest thing in fighting sports. When you're in business, you need to be able to hopefully recognize the brand, recognize the future. I always think 3 steps ahead in life, like chess. I apply that to every aspect of business and any business I've owned or been involved in. Because to me, all business is the same. It's just the product that's different. But you got to recognize what has the chance to be the big hit. I knew that was going to be with Let's Get Ready to Rumble. I got contacted by another company called Party Poker, back when poker was not even as popular as today, who wanted me to be part of it. One of the things I regret, I didn't grab that opportunity back then, because I realized online poker was going to explode. And I'm a big part of poker myself in my private life. Mm-hmm. But when the UFC came on, yes, it was raw. It was a spectacle. It needed refinement. But I decided to stick with it, make the short money back then that I made, lose money going on trips, everything I could do, realizing that if I stuck with this, because consistency is a key in business, that I knew it would all pay off. And I have a simple theory, and that's whenever I do business of any kind, I have a 3-foot theory: everybody around me be happy, healthy, and prosperous. And, my goal is to help everybody around me get there, because then it all comes back to me. So unselfishly, I've been just dedicating my life to the UFC for over 25 years as of February.
I have watched you on UFC and things like that, but the emotion and you wear it on your sleeve. I got to know you more, obviously studying up for this podcast and all that, but and I love Michael, but I have always seen this emotion in the way you enter the ring and all that. And I'm there's something deeper here with you with this. And I think you just distilled it really well. And I think it shines in a lot of what you do. And I want to give you kudos for that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. A writer once said that Michael's like a fine bottle of Bordeaux, right? But I'm like a fine bottle of Puncher's Chance, okay? I get out there, and again, it's you hit it on the head. I attack it with passion. I get back to passion. It's one of my key words, whether it's my feelings for my family, a girlfriend, or life and business, okay? I approach everything with passion. That way in business, if I get knocked down, I stand up, and like Rocky said, I move forward and punch harder than ever, because you believe in yourself. The moment I can't announce the way I want to announce, if I have to start phoning it in, I'm going to retire. I'm done. Okay? Every night I walk out there, it's time to be the best I can be. And it's that kind of hunger and that kind of passion that I've kept doing what I'm doing. I'm 64 now, and I won't stop. I stay in shape. I do everything I can, because I train and I get ready for these shows like a fighter. The moment I can't enjoy that progression, that evolutionary process, like I said, I'm done. It's time for me to get up from the table and find another poker game, go put my chips somewhere else.
This next clip is actually from one of our most recent episodes, but she impressed me so much. We've had a lot of energy and excitement on the show over our 6 years, but Jasmine Star was one of the most entertaining and energetic, and added some of the most best value in the things that she said, the energy and passion that she talked about. She's a beautiful woman. You'll see that if you watch the video. But what was so beautiful about her was her grit and her energy and her perspective on what it takes to go to the next level. Listen to this clip from Jasmine, and I think you'll be ready to run through a wall like I was. We still owe it to the audience. We're going to talk about value and all that, but everybody wants to know, why are you so damn gritty? What makes you keep pushing forward? What got you? Something impacted you. Something made you that. Was it nature, nurture? What was it?
Perhaps a mix of both. My father is from Mexico. My mom is from Puerto Rico. My dad came over, was like 13, 14, and then enlisted in the United States Marine Corps and earned his citizenship. So I think that growing up with that perspective, as a first generation Latina, you see your dad being given the golden ticket. And I think that, you know, I won the genetic lottery by being born in this country, but having a father who was drilled into us, like, we are so incredibly fortunate to live in a country where you don't have barriers to do the thing that you want. It is on the back end of people who are having the chutzpah and the audacity to do something that they are unqualified to do. And so having that growing up, but then also realizing you're owed nothing. Getting into the country, congrats. Being born into this country, congrats. You're owed jack squat. Everything that you have is on the back of your willingness to do the damn work. And so what has made me gritty, knowing I'm owed nothing. I don't, just because I start a business doesn't mean my business should be successful. Just because I start a business and it's successful doesn't mean I'm going to be the top 1%. If I go in and my perspective, just like Simon Sinek says, that this is an infinite game. There's no such thing as winning in business. You can win your own game, but many of us don't even define what the game we're playing is. And so all of a sudden we play a game in our own mind where we move the goalpost. And so it's just like, oh, this year, you know, it's like, I'm going to do my 10 million. And the minute we get to 9.5, it's like, no. I see what I really meant was 11. And then we beat ourselves up at the end of the year because we didn't do the thing that we wanted to do. What game are you actually playing? Because the minute that we define our rubric of success, because sometimes money isn't always the goal. Sometimes the goal is, do I have more time to do the things I want to do with the people I want to do it with? It's like, what is the point of having an $11 million year if on the back of it you missed the people and the things that were the most important to you? You didn't win, you lost. You just didn't know what game you were playing. So for us to actually have a conversation of like, what makes you gritty? Well, first and foremost, let's talk about what we're owed, nothing. Let's talk about how we win. Setting some goals and then working like hell to get them, but not at the cost of compromising the thing that's the most important to you. So what makes me gritty? The fact that I have simply chosen, this is the game I want to play. And every time I get punched in the gut, because we always do, that's the sport. We're literally playing emotional rugby all day, every day. We play rugby in our sleep. I don't know about you. I play rugby in my sleep. I wake up and I'm like, oh my God. This is the game we're voluntarily playing. We signed up for it. We can't complain about the thing that we want to do to get us to where we want to go. So I just think, what a privilege that I get to wake up, go on a walk in Newport Beach, have breakfast with my daughter, have a conversation with somebody I find intellectually stimulating where we get to help and empower other people. And then I get to go in and do coaching on the inside of Social Curated. And then I get to create content. I get to do podcasts. What an honor and what a luxury. So if I want both sides of it, the lifestyle, the luxury, I better be able to wake up after my teeth have been knocked out and say, okay, this is the game I'm playing. I'm chosen this. What an honor and what a privilege. I better show up that way.
You know, sometimes you have guests that, you know, are personal favorites or people that you watch on TV. I'm blessed to do that now. I'm a big sports guy. I'm a big college football guy going to Clemson. And one of my favorite people on TV, Marty Smith, anchor from ESPN, has his own podcast now. But Marty's like always the most like endearing guy on TV. And I was just really anxious to like talk to him. Like, it's this guy really as nice as he seems. He's a Southern guy, does NASCAR, does college football. He's always seemed like somebody I just want to have a beer with and, you know, go fishing with or something. And you know what? As you listen to this clip, you know why I felt that way.
If you dig a little bit deeper into hypotheticals, imagine we as human beings can change the world if we want to every day. We don't have to donate Bill Gates money. We don't have to. All we have to do is be nice. If I go into the Starbucks and I ask that barista how their day's going, they might be having a crappy day. And if I say, hey, man, how's your day going? He's like, man, I don't know. I'm working. I'm like, what's going on, dude? You, by acknowledging them as a human being, can completely change their day. And that dude behind you in line might be having the crappy day. And now that you've changed the barista's day, the barista might change that guy's day. And then he lets somebody into traffic because he's in a better mood. And that person in traffic has a better day. You can, like, people might consider that to be so cheesy, but it's factual. And if we just do a little bit, man, it could change so much. Here's kind of the way I look at it. And look, here's the facts, Ryan. It was an evolution over time. When I first started in this, like a lot of dudes are insecure. We pretend like we're not, but we are. And so my greatest insecurity is I like to be liked. And in our business, man, that ain't a good one to have. Because there's a lot of people who don't like your style or don't like your haircut or don't like how you carry yourself. And that's okay. That's their prerogative to feel however they want to. And you can't force them any other way other than to live your life in a manner that gives you purpose and fulfillment.
I grew up a music buff. Like, I was always playing different kinds of music. Even being a kid from South Carolina, I think I had diverse music, interests. And nothing was more diverse than, being at Clemson playing dance music from Moby. He was a hero growing up. Always respected the hell out of his sound, and just, he looked different, acted different, but damn, his music sounded good. And you know what? Talking with him like we did just this year reinforced why I think he was successful, but also reinforced what I've learned to be true watching, that money and fame don't make you happy. But don't take it from me. Take it from this clip from Moby.
Like, on one hand, there is the idea that fame and wealth fix everything. But then on the other hand, there's evidence. And I would say if fame and wealth fixed everything, Donald Trump would be the happiest person in the world. Kanye would be running through a field singing happy songs. Avicii would still be alive. Kurt Cobain would still be alive. Amy Winehouse would still be alive. Chris Cornell from Soundgarden would still be alive, and on and on. So clearly there's a disconnect where we all think that fame and wealth will fix everything, but in the real world, there's no evidence that that's actually the case. And it was a really interesting challenge to not just experience that academically, but personally.
And finally, this is a marketing and business show. And, one of my favorite guests, he's come on multiple times. He's the smartest guy in marketing. I don't mind saying that. I can play number 2 here. But in all seriousness, Christopher Lochhead, the father of category pirates and category development. Christopher came on the show a couple times. He really gave you the framework for how to build your business, how to do your marketing, and so many other actionable things. This was, if you want true value and action that you can take, you need to go back and listen to these full episodes with Christopher Lochhead. Here's one of my favorite clips from the interview with Christopher.
How many companies do you know who talk about what they sell and market as a solution or solutions? Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's an aha for you. Just listen to the word solution. If somebody's going to buy a solution, they need to have a problem. And one of the biggest unlocks in category design, as distinct from idiotic marketing, is don't market your product. Market your problem. Because the bigger, more urgent, and more strategic the problem, the more time, money, and energy people will invest in solving the problem. When you evangelize the category, you don't have to say to people, oh, and by the way, I'm one of the leaders in business dialogue podcasts. You get it for free. And it's more powerful than if you actually promote yourself or your product or your brand. You're promoting an idea. You're promoting what's possible in the future for your prospect or customer. That's a way more powerful thing to talk about than, hey, isn't my fucking carbidingulator awesome?
I fucking love you, man. All right, man. So as you've heard, we've been blessed to have some of the best and brightest in the business and marketing world. That was just a taste of some of my favorite clips. Some people know them, Some people well known, some you might just be hearing of. But that's how it's going to be with the Radcast. We're going to bring you great perspective across entertainment, sports, business, marketing. We're going to bring these stories to life. We're going to share value in and out of business the only way we know how. I can't be more thankful for my team, for everything, all the work that it takes to bring 400 episodes to life. For everyone that listens and downloads, we are just getting started. Here's to 400 more. And you know where we'll be, theradcast.com. You can listen to all the episodes. You can watch all the episodes. You can get all the information. And if you want to learn from me directly, join my newsletter, ryanalford.com/newsletter. Sign up. I give daily advice on marketing, personal branding, podcasting, life. Give that a shout. Join that. It's free. It's daily. Just like this show, we give away our best advice. I'm at Ryan Alford on all the social media platforms. We appreciate you more than you know. We'll see you next time on the Radcast.
To listen or watch full episodes, visit us on the web at theradcast.com or follow us on social media at our Instagram account, the.rad.cast, or at Ryan Alford. Stay radical.